Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys Season 2 with your host, Captain Gaige.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gaige. This is episode number 44, Season 2, brought to you in part by Cito Huntington. Are you a member? Visit Cito.com to join today. And the Fisherman Magazine, my favorite subscription to get in the mail. And Clicks Fueling. Visit clicksfueling.com. And let's not forget about J&M Seafood over in East Northport, one of my favorite places to get seafood. You got to go visit Matt and the boys over there, say what's up, and hopefully we'll see them down here soon because I haven't seen Matt. He's been so busy. There's a big project we're going to announce for them probably in the next couple of weeks. Big news for them going on, so we're excited for them. Great stuff. And, yeah. I mean, can you believe it? We're 8 weeks away from 1 year of Bay Rats and Buoys. So pretty exciting. Lots of good stuff happening. Last week we announced we are going to start the Bay Rats and Buoys Fishing Club. And I got to give a shout out to Manny, my boy. Manny from the West, he was one of the first guys to reach out and comment about it and say he is in, and that was exciting. But we're going to break down all the details and go over that with everybody. So that's coming up. We'll probably work on that a little bit closer to the anniversary, and that will kick off for 2026 in Season 3. Can you believe it? We're already talking about Season 3. And lots happening. Lots going on here in the area, you know. Everybody's getting ready to go back to college, and like we said last week, Wyncote needed some staff. They got some of the shifts covered over there, so I know Rich is taking a deep breath. He's back to breathing normal, and I know they still need help. So if you know anybody that wants to work at the fuel dock, go see Rich and the gang over there. They have an awesome staff, and they do a great job. I'm blessed to be a few feet away and get to just drive over when nobody's there. I don't have to wait in line. I can just sit on my dock and wait until nobody's there. So that's a plus. But I just love being in our harbor. We have a great harbor. And it's funny. You hear me mention Tony, captain of the kitchen. He was boarded by the Coast Guard. And he said to me he saw some bass blowing up by the grass over here by the dock. So he threw into them and they didn't hook up. And when we talked to Doug the clammer, Doug made note that it was not bass blowing up in the grass. It was cownose stingrays, and a school of stingrays came in. And I'll show you a quick little video of what they do to the mud when they hang out in the harbor here, how they sit, because I've caught a whole bunch of stingrays. In fact, I could show you my cut, which I've done in one of the episodes where I got opened up. I needed 12 or 14 staples because of the barb on a cownose stingray when I was shark fishing. That is a big bycatch. Till I learned to put a 20-aught hook on, put a much bigger hook on with a bluefish fillet rubber band to the hook. My bycatch diminished by 95% because they have a small mouth. The stingrays have a small, straight line, little mouth on the back, on the bottom of them, and they couldn't get the big piece of bait that I was putting down for the sharks in their mouth. So that eliminated that bycatch. That was cool. But they were here in the harbor, and last year the same thing happened. Fooled Kory as well. Tony thought they were bass. Kory thought they were brown sharks last year, and he actually landed one from the beach where I get to show you a picture of Kory in his bathing suit. Which always cracks me up because he's like, "What are you doing putting pictures of me naked on the internet?" And I don't have any pictures of me in my bathing suit holding any fish in the water. So, deem it how you will, but that's the abuse that goes on at Sand City, no doubt, never ends. And they get their opportunities. I've had some funny moments where I'll never live things down for sure, 100%. Speaking of, how many guys out there have boats that get their asses kicked by their boat? I mean, it happens all the time. And I'm not talking the gory pictures you see online when guys get hit by the props and accidents I'm talking about the everyday cuts and bruises that you get on your boat. Now, one of my best friends of 20 years calls me his agile friend because, I can jump fences and I'm pretty agile. I can do all kinds of things. That goes back to the dancing days. But jumping on and off a boat is usually not when I'm going to have an issue. You know, getting on and off anybody's boat, I have to jump on boats that were, that are sinking. And, I'm going on in flip-flops or barefoot half the time, So that's not an issue for me. That's not where I get my butt kicked on the boat. But it's the stupid little things, like if there's a bolt sticking out, especially on my on the work boat. There's bolts, and I'll hit one with the bone that sticks out of my ankle. And I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about, and the cuts. Every day there's a new cut. I'll go home and my daughter will be like, "Dad, you got a boo-boo in your hand, or you're bleeding," and I don't even know I'm bleeding, or that's half the time. So you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, especially when you're working on the boats and fixing things. Even behind me there, you can see one of the switches is out. We had moved the bilge switch to the back. Wasn't working there when they replaced the cable that I stretched out a few months back. Who knows if they nick something? It's always the case. When you repair something, something else breaks. Well, the bilge switch up here wasn't working, but when we put it in the back, it worked. So we're thinking the wire in between, obviously, and just to bring that up isn't, now the bilge is having an issue. So I'm no different than any of you guys. We go through all the same things. There are so many people right now that I'm talking to that are having problems with their boats. Some blew holes in the block. I mean, some are serious. Some are like mine. Some have water in that are getting rainwater in their in their gas. And, it's all these things that we deal with all season long to get out there and enjoy our boats. And, hopefully you have more uptime than you do downtime. And which is why I like to look at those months when we pull it out. When most people wrap it and put it away, it's away for December, January, February, March, and then we unwrap it and we start doing things to it, And it's all the little maintenance. It's all the little things. That's what you got to work on, I'm telling you. So I know you guys know what I'm talking about, especially the boat owners out there. It's a never-ending battle, and I love it. And then, what about the addiction you have to cleaning the boat? I mean, when I see people cleaning their boat down here and they came down just to clean the boat, I'm like, you're down here for therapy, 100%, because it's therapeutic, because there's always something. I'm looking at the scupper now, and it's just rainwater sitting in there. It's not green. It's not dirty, because that area is constantly clean. We clean the boat, We keep it rust and dirt-free and mold-free and all that stuff. But, again, it's those therapeutic days that you're down here all day, and, geez, you cannot stop hosing and cleaning. There's always something to clean. Like, I could pull out a compartment right now and probably clean it for the next 2 hours if I wanted to. So, we talked about the cownose stingrays. We also had a pot of dolphin. Now, this is where it gets funny, guys, because I work on Channel 16. 16 is a station that we listen to, VHF, and we monitor it all the time. And we have to. So, but it brings with it some annoying, repetitive announcements that you'll hear pon, hello all stations, and you'll hear that all day long because of a kayak that overturned or went missing or God knows what. Well, if it was my kid on that kayak, I would want the pon, and I would want the all stations alerted every 10 minutes. I'd probably be down here doing it. So I get it. Understand the repetitiveness. But the comedy that goes on Channel 16 sometimes, I mean, there's a couple of comments throughout each season that are good for a hat or good for a T-shirt for sure. And I might have to take a few calls like usual. And some of the stuff is just, you could put it on a hat and a T-shirt and it would be hysterical. And to some, it's not that funny after the fact, right? So somebody gets on Channel 16 because we saw the pot of dolphin out there. They were just off the Coast Guard station here in the Bay. They were in the Bay. And somebody gets on Channel 16 and says, Coast Guard, Coast Guard, Coast Guard. There's a pot of dolphin out here, and the Coast Guard asks for the Latin longitude. And I want to say within 45 to 60 seconds, you're going to hear somebody come on and say, Coast Guard, Coast Guard, Coast Guard. I see a flock of birds. Then you're going to hear later on somebody's going to say there's a wake, there's a boat making a wave. It was never ending. And to me, that's priceless. It really is. There's some funny things that go on Channel 16, and it's fun when we get to share that with you because it's not all the time. Sometimes it's annoying to listen to, and some of the times when that happens, usually for the Lighthouse Festival, there would be, it turns into karaoke night on Channel 16, which was, again, never-ending torture because you have to listen to that channel and monitor it, and when it becomes chaotic, it takes the, now all of a sudden you get annoyed and you listen to it, you're like, oh, geez. So anyway, that was pretty funny. So we did have cownose stingrays here in Huntington Harbor. We did have potted dolphin out in the bay. And somebody posted a picture. Now, I won't take a post and say, I believe none of what I hear and half of what I see. So with that belief, somebody posted a picture of a seal sticking its head out of the water in Huntington Bay. And yes, we do see seals. This is not the time of the year or the water temperature for us to see seals. We don't see them when it's 72 degrees. We see them when it's 50 degrees to water. And, 55. And we see them come in late October into November. And then we see them in April, leaving as early, as May, getting out of here. But they're here to feed, and we get it. So somebody posted a picture. So we could have had cownose stingrays here that was reported. And potted dolphin we saw because Captain John out there, he sent me some pictures. He took some video of them. I'll see if I could put it up here. I have tons of video of pods of dolphins swimming by where it was, cows and calves. Really cool to see. Really is. But you never know what we're going to see out there. And that's what makes every day going out there on the boat, a ton of fun. You really don't. So see some funny posts of people that, when they go fishing and they don't catch any fish, they go home and they post a picture of, the sunset that they caught. The fishing has been really good in our area. Just got a call from Captain Jim this morning. He's getting back on the boat, and he was, off for, a couple of weeks and said, hey, where am I going? And told him where we're getting them. And even Teddy and the boys. I always give a shout-out to Teddy and George. If it wasn't for them, the shirts we got for the tournament were just epic. And it was thanks to George and Teddy. And Teddy was going out. And I saw the rigs he had tied up to go. And I said to him, are you bringing live bait with you? And he said no. And I said, well, you're going to get the bass. You're going to get them on live bait. So I gave him croakers, told him where to go. And within an hour, I'm seeing pictures of bass on his boat. And that was pretty cool. And it's always nice when you can help somebody out and put them on some fish, or at least put them in the right direction. Because, when the potted dolphin do come through, that's what they're feeding on, guys. They're going to eat up the bass. They're going to eat the blues. They're going to eat the fish. If they're feeding on their way through, hopefully maybe they fed over by you, Manny. Maybe they fed in the west, and they're going to miss us here, mid-trip, and they're not going to feed and look for the food. But, when they're in the area, fishing slows down for sure. No doubt. But it hasn't. The fish are here. We're still catching bass, and it's August. Mid-August, 4 weeks away, 8 weeks away from Bay Rats and Buoys 1-year anniversary. That will be 52 weeks. We are in episode 44 right now, sweating on the boat. I mean, it is one of those just no breeze, hot, humid. I mean, I'm going to lose some weight here today, which is good. I don't mind. I need to. But I did fit into my tuxedo over the weekend, and this was great too. So over the weekend, Dean and Danielle tied the knot at the watermill. That was a great wedding. We had a great time. And I was at the table with the hockey players, and it just so happens to be that the captain sitting next to me was going out with Kory the following. They were leaving that night to get out there and get on the tuna. And because of my busy schedule, I was not able to make these past couple of trips with them. And they did get on some really nice fish. And I'll put up some pictures here of some real nice bull mahi that they caught and bluefin tuna. So they got on some real nice fish and a whole ton of them, which is great. And it was great talking about it at the wedding. You know, it was like, he's like, I'm cutting out of here a little early. Which was a good thing to do. But anyway, I stayed till the end. We partied hard, and I didn't feel it the next day, which was a good thing. So obviously, drinking as much water as I did definitely helped. So, we went over to stingrays. We went over to the dolphin that were in the area, and we went over the potential spotting of a seal in the bay. Now, I say you do see cool things out there all the time. Last week, we're out there on a charter with Anton and Anton Jr., who come out with us like 3 or 4 times throughout the year. We did a little magnet fishing. They caught, I mean, the fact that they got the magnet into a ghost pot, and we pulled up a pretty new pot, was incredible. So when we were out with these guys, we hit a whole bunch of different spots. You know, we don't just fish one area and drift in one area. We're cruising around. We know a lot of different spots to go. We'll do different species. Like tomorrow night's trip, we're going to make a trip out. We'll do a whole bunch of different species, and we'll try to get them on some bass too, live lining. But we'll also include bottom fishing in that trip to start it out, or vice versa, depending on the tide. I haven't looked yet to pick my strategy. But we were out in Ashroken, and we see a plane flying pretty low. And then we see him circling over us. And as he circles over us, he's heading back towards the beach, getting lower and lower. We see him land in the water. And obviously the cameras were out, so we got some cool footage, took some pictures of the plane. It was a pretty big plane. It wasn't, a small little Cessna. It actually, held a decent amount of people on there. And they all got off in Ashroken, and there you go, see the plane turn around, and then I'll put the video up here of the plane taking off. So the whole time I'm talking about this plane, I'll probably show you that clip, from you seeing it take off and banking it right out of here. So I have an app on my phone that will look a lot of times, especially when we're out there night fishing, we'll see the planes going by, and we'll see, you pull up the app, and it shows you where the plane took off from and where it's going to. So a lot of times you'll see them going to Milan, they're going to Spain, they're going all over the place. So, it's really cool. You see planes up above you, have no idea where they're going, where they came from. You think a lot of times it's coming from the Hamptons running to Manhattan. And sometimes the information is available, sometimes it's not. But this was pretty cool for them to be this close and see the plane land and take off while we were fishing. So that was kind of cool. So like I said, there's always cool things you're going to see. The more you're out there, the more you're going to see, right? And that's why we go out. But the wind finally laid down yesterday. It was blowing. I was going to come down here and do my report for the magazine, and it was blowing 16, and then I saw the rain was coming. I planned on doing it yesterday later in the afternoon, including the podcast. It's early Thursday now that I'm getting it done, get it up by 6. I try to get it every week up there by 6 o'clock. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But as far as the fishing is concerned, you got the Hampton shootout going on right now. So that ends tomorrow, I believe. We were going to head out there Friday. Kory and I go check it out and do a little filming out there, and maybe even do next week's podcast or do a podcast from our location out there with Chris and Rich and the boys and girls that are in charge over there of the Hampton shootout. But we get a lot of last-minute bookings. People call us up a day or two before they're thinking of getting out, and me and Kory are very accommodating at Sand City Charter when it comes to that. So, we get people out a lot. We try to do our best. We've gotten calls from people from San Diego on a Sunday. Can you get us out Monday late in the afternoon? And we got them out late in the afternoon on Monday as requested. So that's kind of cool. And we love it. And we love meeting all the new people and the out-of-towners that come in and the tourists that we have here on Long Island. And it's great. We love it. So we're back at it tomorrow. So we won't have a chance to make it out to the Hamptons due to some charter scheduling and some changes. And, maybe I'll get Kory on here so you guys could hear about some of these tuna trips. Because tuna bite is red hot, and you heard about the shutting down the recreational for the bluefin tuna, and there's always something going on. You got to stay up on the regs, And even in the tournaments, you're going to catch fish, you got to release. You got to know your size limits and you got to know your regulations, and you got to stay up to date with that stuff, and whether you need special permits for fishing for the fish that you're fishing for and targeting and all that stuff. That's why you want to head over to the DEC's website and check it out. So Tony mentioned he got boarded by the Coast Guard. I have not been boarded by the Coast Guard yet. I did have the DEC pull up to us twice out there. Once they jumped on board, second time they did not. And it's always good to see them out there checking, And we hear where the problems are, after talking to them, what locations that they're keeping an eye on. And I know they got a boat here in our area, which is always good. So you'll see them here in the harbor getting gas, and they're in the harbor all the time. So it's good to know that they're checking things and keeping things legit in your area. That's why we all have fishing licenses and try to do the right thing by the fishery to keep this a sustained fishery for the future of it and for all the kids. And it's always fun to see kids fishing and getting into it and who are addicted, like Andrew and the boys over there from the yacht club next to us. I mean, they are just absolutely insane. I've told you about them in every podcast episode. And Jacob, I saw the post. He got the Long Island Explorer just like myself. It's always cool when you get the call from Newsday saying, hey, we're doing a story and we want to cover you. And you're like, what? Hey, who? What? And you got to set up the schedule with the photographer, and they got to come down and shoot some photographs, and the writer writes the story, and that's what happened. And had it happen to me out of the Connecticut River, which was kind of cool. And what was cool about it is I was in Florida when that came out in February. And everybody got the Long Island Newsday that morning was shooting me pictures that, you're in the Long Island Explorer section. So the minute I opened the page on Facebook and saw Jacob's Long Island Explorer, I knew exactly what had transpired there to make that happen. So congratulations, Jacob. You hear me mention Davy Jones Shellfish Company. I know he's got big events going on. If you are like a world-class shucker and you could shuck like no other, reach out to me. I'll put you in touch with Davy Jones Shellfish Company. They are always looking for people to help out at events. And you get paid, handsomely. The hourly pay on that is no joke. So reach out to me if you can shuck and want to get involved. We will be more than happy to put you in contact with Davy Jones Shellfish Company. That wasn't his song. That was just me singing. Anyway, I'm just happy the sun's out today. It was supposed to be a cloudy day after we got some late rain yesterday. It poured. And I'm just happy to be down here sitting on the boat, nice and quiet. No breeze, a little breeze. I want to say it's like 1 mile an hour, and the sun's behind the clouds right now, so it's kind of cool. But when that sun comes out, it feels like it's 85 degrees down here with no wind. So everybody's out there tuna fishing. Even Captain Dave got in on it, brought his boat out to the South Shore and caught some tuna. Tom Trueheart, who was the first fish caught in the Bay Rats and Buoys Striped Bass Invitational. He's always out there on the tuna. He keeps his boat on the South Shore for, I believe, a little over a month this time of the year, just strictly for that. So it's great to see pictures of him and the boys out there on some tuna as well. And they had you get out there and it's hit or miss for a few reasons. Even, talking to Captain Joe at the wedding, asking him if he was using any of the new satellite technology that Scott over here actually in front of my boat is using to get on the tuna and to help other people get on the tuna. The intel, he could tell somebody where they're at when they're out there, that they're 3 miles off where they could be getting tuna. And, the intel and the satellites and all that stuff these days it's incredible. It really is. Technology is awesome. Speaking of technology, I got to give a shout out. Over the past weekend there, I stepped into a new Silverado, and I got to give a shout out to Empire Chevrolet of Huntington. You guys did a phenomenal job. You guys were awesome. Just dealing with everybody there was a pleasure. At no point was I like, get me the hell out of here. It's a great experience. They, obviously with all the new ways to purchase vehicles, these dealerships have to compete with that. So how do you compete with that? You kind of have to make your dealership great at what it does. And I got to give a shout out to Porsche, Mike, and David over there, the whole crew. You guys were nothing but phenomenal to deal with. So, when I have a great experience with anything, even locally, whether it be the deli, whether it be at Rob at High Hook or wherever I am, any of my experiences, that I always bring it to you guys and say, hey, we support local. I was excited to be able to get it right here in Huntington on Jericho Turnpike, minutes from where I live and where I work and all that stuff. Me and Kory had bounced around looking, I was looking for something specific. So kudos to them. Great job. And speaking of locals, I always stop into the Gold Coast Deli here. So there's 2 spots here in Huntington that we visit often. That's Rob over at High Hook, Bait and Tackle. He's phenomenal. He was a sponsor of the tournament and the podcast. And I always mention to you guys products that we purchase there when we purchase stuff and we get out there and it works. So Chris went in there, and Chris called actually and asked if he had spot. And he had been sold out. He had just sold out. He had just sold all the ones he had to somebody. And then I get the text message, did you buy all this spot from Rob at High Hook? He said somebody with a micro penis went in there and bought it. So, I mean, I'm even getting abuse from other members. And it's never going to end, and we love it. For real. But I was happy to tell him, no, I didn't do that. But me and Kory love to use the cast nets and catch our own bait. And we're going to show you something in the off season because you can't do it now. You'll do it in the off season when you have time. And we're going to show you something that we created that everybody could use, especially down in, down by your boat. So as we get into the off season, we'll save some of this stuff that we talk about to show you guys so you can make it and use it for next year. We'll battle test it right now and make sure that it goes through, and we'll tell you the pros and cons to it as we use new stuff. And when it comes to products, we're going to pass those products on to you right away. If we get out there and use it and it works, we're going to tell you to go buy it and try it yourself. Just like I had no problem telling Jim this morning how we were putting a 4-foot leader with a circle hook, barrel swivel, and an egg weight on the line above the barrel swivel. So the egg weight had to stop at the barrel swivel, leaving your 4-foot leader with a circle hook and a spot on it. Put it through the nose. We'll make a video showing you all the different ways that we hook into live bait and how we put them down. You know what happens? Sometimes the fish wins. Sometimes the fish get the bait and you don't get the fish. It happens. You can't complain about that. But that's why you want to be able to catch your own bait. And if you can't, then you got to go see Rob at High Hook and load up for your trips, because that is the best way to catch striped bass right now. And the good news is this is the best time of the year to be getting keepers. I mean, the slots are here. This is those are the numbers, 28 to 31. That's what everybody's catching these days. Can you catch bigger fish? Of course you can. Can you catch smaller fish? Of course you can. But I'm just saying, on the average, you're catching a lot more slots this time of the year. And we know we have a great fishery. We do. We love it. We're in a great area. We're blessed to be here. So when guys like Manny from the West say they're coming over this way, we're open arms. We're accommodating. I'll tell you where we're getting them, what we're doing. Come join us. Jump on our boat, And speaking of, the open boat thing is happening. So we did reach out to a few of the guys, letting them know that next week we are going to be running the open boat a couple days. And let you pick which days work for you, which hours are going to be the best. And we're going to start getting guys out there live lining and getting on some bass. So, this is episode 44. One of my favorite numbers as a kid, because that was my old house number. That was the house number I grew up in, was 44. My favorite color is blue. Truthfully, my favorite number is 8. That was on the back of all of my jerseys. And I told you my favorite color is blue. And if I didn't, so that's why I'm rocking Tom and Jerry, one of the greatest cartoons ever made. So, let's talk about some of the big boats out there. Because you see what I'm on. I'm on a 23-foot center console, right? And you got the guys in the 50-foot azimuths. You got them in the 35-foot tiaras. You got them in the 30-foot tiaras. You got them in the sea rays and up on the sedan bridge. So, now I know a lot of these guys, like Bob with the Galleon, who is an amazing captain and drives his boat like you're supposed to. And I wish I could use people like him as an example of this is what you should do. And this is how you should drive through the harbor. And this is how you should drive through a channel out in the bay that most people probably don't even know about. But here's one thing I like to say. I like to say the bigger the boat, the bigger the idiot. And that doesn't go for all boaters. It's just like car drivers. It is. But I want to say that some of these guys that have bigger boats have absolutely zero clue as to what they're doing out there. And they might take this thing out 6 times a year, where you and I and the guys on the smaller boats are going out 6 times a week. You know, so I attest that to the mistakes that they make and the things that they do around us, including driving through 25 boats that are all fishing around the can and a buoy, and they can't veer off course to go around them. They go flying right through them. And it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, last week, it was a small boat, and we were anchored up. We were getting them on every drift, and this one spot, every time we passed it, everybody's rod on the boat bent over. I said to Kory, let's get back over there. We're going to drop the hook, and we'll hang out there for a little bit and see what's going on. See why it's, they're stacked up. They're there. Let's just stay there for a little bit. Sure enough, we do it. We stay there. We're catching fish. And I don't mind that you're letting your little kid drive the boat, because that's great. I do the same thing, okay? But don't let your little kid drive the boat and then go and drift and do stuff up on the bow and forget that you're drifting. Because I had a guy literally, I want to say by the time I said something, he was probably 15 feet away from my bow, to the point where I said to him, hey, you might want to get at the helm. You're going to have to move your boat, or you're going to be taking on water because you're going to crash right into the pulpit that's sticking out, which I don't think anybody would want to do, nor would I want him to do that. But it was going to happen. It was inevitable. He was drifting right into me. And of course, instead of putting it in gear and going forward, he decides to put it in reverse. And, I mean, he just narrowly made the escape. Granted, he made the escape, no issues. I don't yell at anybody out there, okay? I don't yell at you and tell you you're a retard, you're a moron. Unless you open your mouth to me. If you open your mouth to me, I got a mouth right back for you. So, it's rare that I'm going to yell out to somebody and be like, yo, you're in a no-wake zone. It's rare. But if they are blatantly disregarding the signs that are here, and not in the harbor, I'm talking out in the bay. I mean, here you are driving 5 feet past the no-wake zone marker, and you have no idea what that marker even means. You don't. Clueless. In fact, there's one of the markers out there last year, I think I have a picture of it, got hit. Probably somebody hit it at nighttime, not even knowing it was there. And they're there in the same spot every year, and they're marking a peak. And at low tide is about 3 feet of water there. And a sailboat that goes through there could run aground. Most boats don't draft enough to hit it, but there is a danger marker. And they had 2 danger markers, 25 feet away from each other. And one of them got run over last year. And this is right in the same area. It's the entrance channel to Northport Bay. Okay? And if you stay around the channel, you can go as fast as you like. If you go through the channel, they don't want you to go as fast as you like because they don't want you to erode Eaton's Neck Point. And if you look, there's an entire line of no-wake zone buoys from the channel, starting at the hazard markers that I just said, and running all the way into Price Bend. So it's literally a straight line of fence of no-wake zone markers going into Sand City. And here comes this big 40-foot sea ray, and I'm waiting for him to slow down at the line because we're drifting right there with a charter, with kids on the boat. And the boat never slows down. He gets to the no-wake zone, and he keeps pushing white water off the bow in a big wake. So that's when I yell over, hey, dude, you're in a no-wake zone. Clueless, just completely clueless. Has no idea he's even entered it. And just behind me, almost like they were following him, two more going right through the channel at 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. Let's say 25. Let's be nice. They were big boats. They don't go that fast. But they had a big wake, all of them. You know, they had dishwasher effect out there. We understand. It's the weekend. It's the bay. It's what happens. I get it. But my point is, a lot of these guys in these big boats coming from Connecticut, going to hang out at the town dock, going to a restaurant here in the harbor, wherever they're going, they may not know the rules of the road, just like when people from our area go to their area and do not know where the no-wake zone starts and all of that fun stuff. And you got to attribute it to people just not getting better at being a captain. They drive the boat, but do they ever come down here and just practice docking? Do you ever see people just come down? No, they come down, they get on with their friends, they go out, and they dock when they get back. So for the whole season, they went out 20 times, they docked 20 times, let's give them 40, okay? So as opposed to the guy that comes down and trains in close quarters and learns how his boat maneuvers and does things in certain conditions, the incoming tide, the out. So I'm just saying, pass that on, because I'm always working on things. There's always something to work on. There really is. And the bigger the boat, the easier it is to drive. You got bow thrusters, you got stern thrusters, you got joysticks that do everything. You can make the boat crab and go sideways. You don't even need your thrusters. There are so many things you can do on the bigger boats. The technology is amazing. So when I got guys just totally blowing through no wake zones, disregarding the signs and don't see anything and don't know what it means, or just don't care what it means and don't care that you're 20 feet away from their boat and going to get rocked in a wake, you are responsible for your wake. That's it. Wake Zone 101. Done. Episode 44. We told the big boats. The bigger the boat, the bigger the idiot. Let's go. It's how we roll. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. The Bay Rats and Buoys fans are absolutely awesome. And the Bay Rats and Buoys Fishing Club is going to be epic. You'll find out more about it when you reach out to me, and I will tell you more about it in certain podcasts that we're going to do coming up close to the 1-year anniversary. But episode 44 was a ton of fun. We talked about a lot of fun things here. If you guys want to get out there and catch some fish, let us know. If you're at my marina and you're having problems with your boat and you want to go out and catch some fish, jump on mine. I'll take you out there. You're not missing anything. You got that Big Joe? Chris will take you out. I'll get you out. Frank will get you out. And I just love the camaraderie down here in the harbor. Really do. We have a great area, and we love it. We have a great bunch of guys. And I love meeting a lot of the new people that I do with what I do around here. So it's a ton of fun. And tomorrow we're taking out people from Lloyd Harbor, neighboring town over. And that's always exciting for us. Me and Kory love that. So hopefully you guys will tune in next week. We're going to have some big news and big things happening. As always, big shout out to all the fans and all the sponsors from Bay Rats and Buoys' first annual Striped Bass Invitational. Couldn't do it without you guys. And the new sponsors that are jumping on board for the podcast. Wait till you see what's going on, guys, because we got a lot in store going into the 1-year anniversary. This thing's only going to blow up. Tomorrow I'll be at the studio. We got the construction going on, so tomorrow I'll be there checking it out and making sure everything's going to the way I want it to and looking the way it should. And we're excited about that. We're probably about 2 months, 3 months away from being back in the studio when we're off the boat. That'll be November. But I've sat out here some days in October where it was freezing, so I'm really excited that I'm sitting in 80-degree weather right now. Got a little cloud cover, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. So until episode 45, Captain Gaige signing off.
Over and out. Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gaige on all our social media channels.